All
Hello.
right, hello there. Sorry about the slight delay. Had a connectivity issue, but now it is all solved. So, welcome to the class. Welcome to me to the class. I'm the last one here. And hello, students. Hello, Hide.
Hello, nice to
And
see you.
hello, Abhimelek. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Have my voice. Is it okay? Hello? Hello? No.
Can't hear you.
Hello?
Okay. How about now? Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, I can hear. Oh. Hello?
Okay, 'cause I can't seem to hear you. Very odd. Okay. Um.
Hello teacher, can you hear me?
All right. So they're having a problem hearing me, so I'm going to attempt to
Yeah, I can
reconnect.
hear you. Oh.
All right. And I'm back. Can anyone hear me now?
Yes, I can hear. Hello? Oh.
Well, that
Can you
doesn't
hear
sound
us?
hopeful. What on earth could be wrong? It was working just a moment ago. How about this? Can you all hear me now?
Can you
Yes.
hear us?
I can't hear any of you if you're making noise. How? Well, this is endlessly frustrating. Sorry to those just showing up. For some reason, my audio isn't working, and I don't know why. Oh wait. Oh, okay. Here we go. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And now I can hear you. Fabulous. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that, everyone. I don't know even what fixed it. It just suddenly came through. And Heldy could always hear me. Okay, so sorry about the wait. Let's get right to it then. So let's see what tongue twister to start with now. Let's start with the one I think everyone here has seen before. But it's always good to practice on something you've seen. So, Hide, why don't you start us off?
Okay. Wait a minute. I'll change my glasses. She says seashells on the seashore. The shelled seashells are seashells, I'm sure, and if seashells on the seashore, then I'm sure seashells shore. Seashells seashore shells.
All right. So on that one, I want you to make sure it's shells with a
Shells.
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 Mm-hmm. And that it's seashore.
Seashore.
Seashore. Yes.
Seashore.
So remember, it's shore, but it's the sea.
Shore.
Mm-hmm. So can you say shell for me one more time?
Shells.
Yeah. All right. So now try saying the tongue twister one more time.
Seashells on the seashore. The seashells are seashells, I'm sure, and if I, no, sorry, And if she sells seashells on the seashore, then I'm sure she sells seashore shells.
All right. Yeah, that one's I have a really hard time with that one too. All right. So, and Igor, it's your time to warm up.
Okay. She sells seashells on the seashore. The shells she sells are seashells. I'm sure, and if she sells seashells on the seashore, then I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Oh.
That was good. Now, on the word shore, make sure it's not sure, but shore.
Sure.
Yeah, make sure that vowel comes through. Sometimes it got a little clipped. Okay. Now, because you did well, that means that I have to make it more difficult for you. So
Okay.
I want you to try saying it again, and this time try to go faster.
Okay. She sells seashells on the seashore. The shells she sells are seashells, I'm sure, and if she sells seashells on the seashore, then I'm sure she sells seashore shells.
Okay. I want you to say it one more time, and this time a little faster.
She sells seashells on the seashore. The shells she sells are seashells, I'm sure, and if she sells seashells on the seashore, then I'm sure she sells seashore shells.
All right. Very good. You have passed with flying colors. All right. And Shadow?
Okay.
All right.
She sells seashells on the seashore. The shells she sells are seashells, I'm sure. And if she sells seashells on the seashore, then I'm sure she sells seashore shells.
All right. Good. Very good. Now I want you to, now I'm going to have you try to say it again, and this time go a little faster.
Okay. Seashells, oh my God.
Remember, it's she.
Okay. She sells seashells on the seashore. Then the shells she sells are seashells, I'm sure. And if she sells seashells on the seashore, then I'm sure she sells seashore shells.
Now remember, it's shore and sure.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
the seashore, but I'm sure.
I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's not I'm sure.
I'm sure. I
I'm
mean,
sure.
it can be more like I'm sure, but it's typically sure. I'm sure.
Okay, I'm sure.
And it's a seashore.
Seashore.
All right, so try saying it one more time at that same speed or faster if you think you can handle it.
Okay. She sells seashells on the seashore. The shells the shells she sells are seashells, I'm sure. And if she sells seashells on the seashore, then I'm sure she sells seashore shells.
All right, very good. All right,
Thank you.
now Abimelech or Abimelech, are you there?
Abimelech.
Abimelech. All right.
Yes.
So, all right, it's your turn to try to say this phrase. Some of the other students here have already seen this before, hence why they're able to do it so fast. You don't have to worry about necessarily going that fast at the moment. So,
Okay.
whenever you're ready, I want you to attempt to read this, and remember to make sure you get your sh and your s sounds correct.
Okay. She sells seashells on the seashore. The shells she sells are seashells, I'm sure. And if she sells seashells on the seashore, then I'm sure she sells seashore shells.
All right, good. However, the word S-U-R-E is pronounced sure. So it's written with an S, but it's
Sure.
pronounced sure with an SH sound. So you can try saying that for me. Sure.
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 There you go. You want to make sure it's a sh sound, not a s sound.
Okay.
So can you try saying just the very last line for me one more time?
Then I'm sure she sells seashore shells.
All right. Now I'm going to have you read the whole thing for me just one more time. Okay?
Okay. Okay. She sells seashells on the seashore. The shells she sells are seashells, I'm sure. And if she sells seashells on the seashore, then I'm sure she sells seashore shells.
Good. All right. And now I see it's Vincenzo. Your mute is still on.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, yes. How are you? Is this
the first time in this class?
Yes, it's my first time with you, teacher.
All right. Well, fabulous. So we're doing tongue twisters. They're little poems and things that are hard to say. So this is your first one. This is our warm-up. This is she sells seashells on the seashore. And it's all about getting your sh and your s sounds correct.
The sound sh. Yes. Good, teacher.
All right. So whenever you're ready, go for it. And remember that the word S-U-R-E is pronounced sure.
Yeah, sure. Oh, okay. Can I start? No. No. She sells seashells on the seashore. Then I'm sure she sells seashore shells.
I think you got lost there.
She sells seashells on the seashore. Then I'm sure she sells seashore shells.
You're skipping the two lines in the middle there.
I have to say all. Okay. The shells she sells are seashells, I'm sure. And if she sells seashells on the seashore, then I'm sure she sells seashore shells.
All right, good. Now I want you to read through that thing one more time, and I want you to see if you can't go a little faster this time.
She sells seashells on the seashore. The shells she sells are seashells, I'm sure. And if she sells seashells on the seashore, then I'm sure she sells seashore shells.
All right, very good, very good.
Okay.
All right, so you guys nailed that one. So which one to go to next? I think we will go to an old classic here in this class, and we're going to go to this poem Betty Botter, because we have some old students and some new students, so the old students can get to practice at this one, and the new students can tackle it for the first time. So this one is Betty Botter. Now, the key to this one is that it has a lot of words that you can see end in those double T's, and the thing is that they're all spelled with a T, but they're all going to be pronounced der at the end. So Betty Botter, butter, bitter, batter, and you can hear it, that der sound. It's not really a T, it's not really a D even, it's kind of halfway between the two. And you make the sound actually by just tapping your tongue against the roof of your mouth. In Italian, it's very similar to the R sound.
Yeah.
So, with that said, Vincenzo, since you're new to this one, I'll have you try saying it. And I want you to try this one just from the beginning to the line, that would make my batter better, about halfway through.
That would make my batter better. Till my butter better, that would make my butter better.
Yeah, so,
okay.
Yeah, so I want you to read from the beginning to that point.
Okay. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter is better. If I put in my butter, I will make my butter better. But I beat a better butter that will make my butter better. Better.
All right, good. Now some pointers. The word bitter, bitter, is bitter, not better, bitter.
Bitter, bitter. Bitter.
Yeah, and it contrasts with better,
Better,
B-E-T-T-R, better.
Yes.
And also, when you get to the a bit of,
A bit.
yeah, bit of, those words kind of fuse together when you say them to become bitta.
Bitter.
So butta bitta, so it's in fact the butta does
Yeah.
too. So it's butta bit of better butter.
But a bit of better butter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a bit of better butter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that
Okay.
bitta sound all over and over. Butta bitta better butter.
But a bit of better butter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I want you to try saying this one more time.
Yes. Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said the butter is bitter. If I put it in my butter, it will make my butter better. But a bit of better butter that would make my butter better.
Mm-hmm. And one more pointer actually is that another word that kind of fuses together to make this sound is put and it. So if I put it, put it.
If I put it,
Mm.
I said, in which way I said it? If I put
So
it,
the words separately are put and it, but when you
I
have
put
them
it.
together like this, it
Okay,
becomes
okay.
put it.
If I put it, okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So now I want you to try saying the second half, the part you didn't read. So she bought a bit of butter.
So
And I
she
can tell you right now
Yeah.
that the bada is going to be bada. The same thing happens to that T.
She butter. So she bought a bit of butter, better than her bitter butter, and she put it in the butter, and the butter was not bitter. So it was better butter, bought a bit of better butter. A
Okay.
bit of better
Now
butter.
remember that
better
down
butter.
here, all the T's once again are those D sounds. So
Butter.
bit of better butter.
But a bit of better butter.
Yeah, there you
But a
go.
bit of, but a bit of better butter.
Mm-hmm. So try it one more time.
So she bought a bit of butter, better than the bitter butter, and she put it in their butter, and the butter was not bitter. So it was better bitter butter, bought a bit of better butter. Very difficult.
All right. So I'm going to leave you to practice that for a bit on your own, or really you can listen to us practice if you want.
Yes. The
And
sound of
remember, yeah, there's all these ers and there's all those little duh sounds. Pretty much any time you see a T and then a vowel, even if it's across two words in this poem, that T is gonna become that D sound.
Yeah.
So bada, better, put it.
Better, bitter.
All right.
Bitter.
So I'm gonna mess this up again. Abimelech. Abimelech?
Yes.
Okay. Was that your name? Was I saying it wrong again?
Yes. No, it's okay. It's okay.
Well, all right. Well, I tried. Gosh. All right. So it's your turn up now, and I want you to try saying the first part of this poem from the start down to the line, "That would make my batter better." And like with Vincenzo, you want to remember that all those T's, they're written T's, but that's misleading. They're actually pronounced so batter, butter, better, not batter, butter, better, batter, butter, better. So whenever you're ready.
Betty bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. But a bit of better butter that would make my better, better.
Okay, so one pointer, the word B-I-T-T-R-E-R is not beater, it's bitter.
Better.
And one more pointer is remember, so these aren't T's, they're more like D's. So try saying, instead of bitter, say bitter.
Okay.
Can you say that for me? Bitter?
Bitter,
Yeah, like that. And batter?
better,
And butter?
butter,
Yeah. And then Betty?
Betty,
And now put it?
put it,
Put it.
put it,
Put it with like a D, put it.
put it.
Yeah. So it's put it when you say them separately, but when you say it fluidly, it becomes put it.
Put it.
And then butter,
Bada,
bit of.
mhm,
This is bit of, but together it becomes bit of.
okay. Beat up.
Yeah. All right. So now try saying that first half again, and remember all your D sounds.
Okay. Betty bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitters. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. But a bit of better butter, that would make my batter bitter.
All right. Very good. So now try saying the second half of it.
Okay. So she bought a bit of butter, better than her bitter butter, and she put it in her batter, and the batter was not bitter. So 'twas better Betty butter bought a bit of better butter.
All right. Very good. You got the hang of those D's very quick. So we're gonna let you rest your tongue for a bit,
Okay.
and we're going to go on to Hide. It's your turn.
Okay, Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said, the butter is bitter. If I put it in my butter, it will make my batter bitter. But a bit of better butter, that would make my batter bitter. So she bought a bit of butter, better than a bitter butter, and she put it in her butter, and the butter was no bitter. So twas better Betty Butter bought a bit of better butter.
All right. Now we're gonna work with the same thing I've been working with the others a bit, which is all these words that are two words, but when you say them fluidly, they combine together and they get those D sounds. So the first one we encounter is put it, but it becomes put it.
Put it.
Put it.
Put it.
Make sure you really get that D sound, put it.
Put it.
Yeah, because you don't want just put, you want put it. Your tongue
Put it.
has to hit their mouth.
Put it.
Yeah. And then we have the line but a bit of better butter, but instead of but and bit of, we get but a bit of.
Bought a bit of
Butter.
butter. What?
Yeah, so when you see
bit of better butter.
so when you see like this but that what I've typed in there, it's like saying butter, but instead of going into an R, you go into a butter. You could almost imagine it if it was written like
butter.
this.
Butter. Butter.
Yeah, butter. And then we
Butter.
have bit of. We have bit of, and together that's going to sound like. It's going to sound like something
Yeah.
like this. Bit of.
Bit of.
Bit of.
Bit of. Bit of.
Mhm.
Bit of.
Yeah, you want to make sure that T, the same thing is going to happen to it that happens to all these others. It becomes like a D sound. Bitter.
Bit of.
Yeah. So butter, bitter.
Bit of better butter.
Butter, bitter.
Butter better.
All right. So, and then we go on. We get bought a but it becomes bada.
Butter.
Mm-hmm.
Butter, bitter, better butter.
Yes, and yeah, bought a bit of butter. So all those bit
Bada
ofs
bit of
also
better
become
butter.
bitas. All right. So with that in mind, I want you to try saying this again. Daunting, I know.
Betty bought some butter, but she said the butter is bitter. If I put it in my butter, it will make my butter bitter. Butter bitter, that will make my butter bitter. So she bought bitter butter, better than bitter butter, and she put it in butter, and the butter was not bitter. So it was better, but better. It's difficult.
It is very difficult. It's all those butta sounds. It goes from your lips to your tongue and then back again. So all right. So let's try just the first half from Betty Botter to that would make my batter better. I want you to try to say just this half, and I want you to try to go a little fast if you can.
Betty bought some butter, but she said the butter is bitter. If I put it in my butter, it will make my butter bitter. Butter bitter.
But a bit of. Start there. So start with that line, but a bit of better butter.
Better. That will make my butter better. So she bought a bit of butter, better than a bit of butter, and she put it in her butter, and the butter was not bitter. So it was better, pretty butter, but bitter butter.
All right. So I'm going to give your tongue a rest. You can practice on your own if you want to while it's muted, and I work with the other students. But yeah, we're definitely doing good. We're kicking up the difficulty a notch, and you're keeping pace pretty well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Igor, your turn.
Okay.
Now, before we even get to this, I want you to make sure that when you get to the word bitter, that it's bitter, not beater. Okay?
Okay. And do I need to read the whole story, the whole thing?
Start off saying just the first half. Down to that would make my batter better.
Okay. Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said the butter is bitter. If I put it in my batter, it'll make my batter bitter. But a bitter butter, that'd make my batter better.
All right. Can you say it one more time, a little bit faster?
Okay. Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said the butter is bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. But a bitter butter, that'd make my batter better.
All right. Very good. Just one small point, which is that the word bought. Make sure you're getting an ah sound in there, not an o sound. Bought.
Bought.
Yeah. All right. So now can you say the second half?
Okay. Better than a brother butter, and she put it in her batter, and the batter was not bitter. So it was better, Betty butter. Butter, bitter, better, butter.
All right. Can you say that very last line for me one more time?
Butter, bitter, better, butter.
Yeah, very good. All right. Now can you put the whole thing together?
Okay, I will try.
Now remember to keep those bitters itters and not eaters.
Okay. Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it'll make my batter bitter. But a bitter, better butter, that'd make my batter better. So she bought a bitter butter, better than a bitter batter, and she put it in a batter, and the batter was not bitter. So it was better, Betty Butter. What a bitter, better butter.
All right, very good. All right, so gonna give you a break. We're gonna
That's
move on.
too many D's.
Too many whats?
Too many D's.
Oh yeah, way too many. All right. So, Shadow, your turn.
Okay. Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said the butter is better. If I put it in my butter, it will make my butter better. But a bit of better butter that would make my butter better. So she bought a bit of butter, better than her better butter, and she put it in her butter, and the butter was not better. So it was better. Betty Butter bought a bit of better butter.
All right. Now, that was good, but your T's still sound too much like T's and not enough like a D. So, not butter, but butter. Can you say that with me? Butter.
Butter,
And bitter
better,
and batter.
badder,
Batter.
badder,
And Betty Botter.
Betty Butter.
And now the but a bit of.
Sorry?
The but a bit of better butter.
Uh,
So remember that but and bit of will fuse together, and they'll also get those D sounds because of that fusion. So but becomes butta, and bit of becomes bit of.
Bada bitter,
Yeah, butta bitta.
bada bitter. Okay.
Yeah, similar to butter and bitter if you just chopped off their R's and made it butta bitter, butta bitta. Okay, so try it one more time and make sure you get those D sounds.
Okay. Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said the butter is better. If I put it in my butter, it will make my butter better. But a bit of better butter that would make my butter better. So she bought a bit of butter, better than her better butter, and she put it in my butter, and the butter was not better. So it was better. Betty Butter bought a bit of better butter.
Okay, good. Now one more pointer. The word is bought, not boat. Bought. Bought, yeah. With just that simple ah sound. It's spelled O-U, O-U-G-H, but it's pronounced ah for some reason. We'll never know.
Pot.
Yeah, bought.
Pot. Oh, sorry.
Not boat, but bought.
Okay, pot.
Yeah, it's spelled spelled as if it was written more like this, just bought.
Okay, pot.
So I want you to now one line that I wanted to point out was the she bought a bit of. That same thing happens here. The boughta fuses and the bitta fuses, so it's bought a bit of butter. Can you say that for me?
Okay, so she bought a bit of butter.
Boughta with those kind of D-ish sounds, those taps. So it's bought a bit of butter.
Yeah, bought a bit of butter.
Yeah, there you go. And also, when you see put it, you want to say put it.
Put it.
Put it with that same D. Put it.
Teacher, put it, it's like I flipped the T to D?
Yeah. What's actually happening here is it's not really becoming a D, but it's becoming a sound that is more like a D. What this sound technically is, it's called a tap or a flap. The same sound in Spanish or Italian is sometimes called the tapped R, because in Spanish and Italian that's what R sounds like. Ere is the Spanish letter R, ere, and it's that ere sound. And what happens is your tongue is just kind of tapping the place where you make the T or the D sound. But when you make a T or a D, your tongue kind of stays there. But when you go butter, your tongue just flaps up. That's why it's called that. It flaps up. hits the roof of your mouth and stops. And you never stop making the vowel sound, which is why it sounds more like a D. I don't know if you remember when we talked about phonetics, that there's voiced and voiceless sounds, and T is voiceless, and D is voiced. Well, this tap sound is also voiced, which is why it sounds more like a D than a T. So that's what's happening here. And the reason it happens is this is something that happens to T's in English when they come between two vowels and they aren't stressed. So when you have these two vowel sounds next to it, basically both of the vowels are kind of competing for your mouth, and the T kind of loses that battle for the vowels. So the T kind of becomes more like these vowels. So it goes from batter to batter. The T's kind of trying to, it's almost like the T's trying to get out of the way, is how you could think of it. The T's, it's frightened of the vowel, so it just comes up and out as fast as it can. Not batter, but batter.
Batter. Okay.
Does that all make sense a little bit?
Yeah. So every time when I see double T between vowels, it's always D.
Most often. There are exceptions to this, and they have to do with stress, which is why words like attack still have a T sound. But when the next syllable is going to be unstressed, like the is, then this does happen. And so anytime you see a double T-E-R or even a T-E-R or a D-E-R at the end of a word, this happens. So actually a fun thing is that the words, I'll write them up here so everyone can see them. These two words, ride and write, when you attach ER to them and make them these words, it's writer and writer. They're actually pronounced almost the same. The T and the D both become this tap. Writer, writer.
Mm.
So yeah, so pretty much all the time this happens. And like I said, the official rule is whenever you have a T or a D between two vowels and the second vowel is unstressed, it becomes this sound.
Okay.
Excuse me, this is a question.
Yes.
But the pronunciation of rider and writer could be different because in the case of the word W-R-I-T-A-R, you have to say rider, not rider, to prolong the sound of the because there is a W first. That is a sound that I think like rider.
Well, what it is, and I'll be very brief on this subject because we're getting a little off topic, and I want to get back on so everyone can have their tongue twisted. So I'll go fast. But you actually don't. That WR actually does not change it. What does make a difference is that before certain consonants that are called voiced consonants, which D is one, vowels become longer in English, whereas before voiceless ones, like a T, they are not as long. So for instance, when I say a bead and then beat, you notice that E is shorter in beat than in bead. So when I say writer and writer, the difference is not in the R, it's actually in the I. In writer, I hold it for longer. In writer, I don't hold it as long. Even though both of those sounds change to become this different sound, that rule still applies as if they were the other sounds. And that's a little complicated. It has to do with phonology, which is the sound system of language, and rules come in orders. But so, yeah, like I said, the difference is actually the length of the vowel. In writer, it's a little longer. In writer, it's a little shorter.
Yeah. Yes. So, also, if the pronunciation of the I is I think it's long, no? It's a long sound, not rider. It's a long sound, and I think, no, or not.
They are the same R sound. You don't actually go rider. You just say ride. It's spelled with a W because in older forms of English, that actually what you're saying was true, but it's no longer true in modern English. They're both just WR and R are both ra.
The same. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So anyway, sorry to get us so off track. I hope it was at least interesting.
Sorry, I have a question too. But
yes.
It's a brief question. I noticed that that whenever you have a combination of consonants
Betty
like
butter bought
S
some
and
butter.
it becomes like st, like you said, unstressed or frustrated. Is it true?
What is the question?
When you put together two consonants like S and T, it
Mhm.
becomes not st but st, like unstressed. You said unstressed and frustrated.
If ST frustrated, sometimes. The answer is sometimes, but not always. And I forget the exact rule. I do think it has to do with stress. That STs before unstressed things will become sh. It's actually mostly before an R. It becomes sh instead of st. So it's stop, but stress. So it's actually that R having the effect.
Yes. Teacher, another
Okay.
Yes, another question, excuse me. But I think there are some words that take the accent in the beginning. No, you have to pay attention to this because you have to pronounce it with the right accent. They are stressed sometime at the beginning. I don't know when. Yes, but it's very difficult to understand
English
yes.
stress is not predictable. It's not always at the start. It's not always at the end. There's no real rule about it. It's more commonly at the start in English.
Yeah.
But because we borrowed so many words from other languages that stress at the end, we often stress at the end as well. So the answer is stress definitely matters a lot in English. But unfortunately, like as many things in English, there's no way to predict it. You just have to learn it when you learn the word. So every time you learn a word, especially if they're a long word with many syllables, always make sure you learn which is the stress syllable, because that matters.
For example, understand. No, the stress is going to the last part of this word. Understand. No, it's always in the same, in this kind. When we have a long word, the stress is going to fall at the end of the word. Or not.
So we'll come back to that in a bit, but for now, Shadow, I am sorry for getting so
No, it's okay.
So let's continue on with
Yes. Okay, thank you.
So Betty Botter, why don't you take it from the top and remember with those things like put it, butta, bitta, all those words are going to be those tapped D sounds. So pretty much most of the T's in this poem will. So whenever you're ready, Shadow, from the start.
You want me to read it again?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
because it was halfway between you reading it that we got onto questions.
Oh, it's okay. Baby, from the beginning?
Yes, please.
Okay. Baby butter bought some butter, but she said the butter is better. If I put it in my butter, it will make my butter better. But a bit of bitter butter, that would make my butter better. So she bought a bit of butter, better than her butter, and she put it in her butter, and the butter was not better. So it was better bitty butter, but a bit of better butter.
So remember, it's bought a bit of better butter.
Okay, but a bit of better butter.
Bought a
bit of better butter.
Because all those T's become D's, because it becomes bought a bit of better butter. And so that rule applies because these sounds kind of fuse together. Okay.
Can I repeat, teacher?
What was that?
Another time. Can I repeat another time? Can I repeat?
Do you want to try again?
Can I try again?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
okay.
Okay. Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my butter, it will make my butter bitter. But a bit of better butter, that would make my butter better. So she bought a bit of butter better than her bitter butter. And she put it in her butter, and the butter was not bitter. So it was better. Betty Butter bought a bitter better butter.
Very good. You nailed all those taps. The only thing you need to work on is your R's were a little weak.
Ah,
So
okay.
make sure
Yeah,
it's Betty,
yeah,
Botter, Botta,
yeah.
Bitta,
Yes,
Butter.
it's very difficult to say the R in English alphabet.
Yeah, I imagine it's especially hard after those taps for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you really want to make sure that on the words that do have R's, it's Botter, Butter, Bitter.
Butter.
And part of the
Butter.
reason that's so important is because we have words like but which becomes butta, and the only
Butter.
difference between butta and butter is that sound.
Oh, yeah.
So that you can almost kind of try to affect a really like Southern American accent, just
Yes. I have to improve this consonant.
Okay, so I'm going to try to give people a little bit more exercise here. So I'm going to move on. God, I'm going to say it wrong again. Abimelech? Are you still there?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to try saying the first half of this poem? Just down to that would make my batter better. is what I
First line?
Yeah, so from the first line down to that would make my batter better.
Okay. Betty bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. But a bit of better butter, that would make my batter better.
Okay, good. Now, when this is going to sound like an odd question, when you make your D's and your T sounds, what part of your tongue is it that's hitting the roof of your mouth?
Middle part?
So try to hit it more with the tip of your tongue at the roof of your mouth when you say them. So I think your D's are what we would call a little more retracted, which you're hitting them all in the right places, but they are distinctly different from the English D. So I think you need to hit it more with the tip of your tongue to make it more English sounding. So can you try saying the word butter, but try to hit it with the tip of your tongue instead of the middle of it.
Okay. So from the beginning?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Betty bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. But a bit of better butter, that would make my batter bitter.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely sounds better to me. So make sure whenever you make any of the sounds like T, D, or N, or S even, that you're using the tip of your tongue in English and not the middle of it, because all those sounds are made with the tip on the roof of the mouth, not the middle of it. Okay, so let's hear the second part of this. So she bought a bit of butter. Now remember, as I've told everyone, that bought fuses to become botta. Bit of fuses to become bitta, and then put it fuses to become put it. So every time you have those words like put it, botta, bitta, butter, make sure they get those D sounds in there and they fuse. So whenever you're ready, from so she bought a bit of butter and on.
Okay. So she bought a bit of butter, better than her bitter butter, and she put it in her batter, and the batter was not bitter. So 'twas better Betty bought a bit of better butter.
All right, very good. Now I want you to try saying the whole poem now.
Okay. Betty bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. But a bit of butter, that would make my batter better. So she'd bought a bit of butter, better than her bitter butter, and she put it in her batter, and the batter was not bitter. So it was better. Betty Butter bought a bit of better butter.
All right, very good. Now, do you think you can say it again, but a little faster?
Okay. Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. But a bit of better butter, that would make my batter better. So she bought a bit of butter, better than her bitter butter, and she put it in her batter, and the batter was not bitter. So it was better Betty Butter bought a bit of better butter.
All right, excellent. Do you have any questions about it?
It's difficult.
Yeah, that is the point. It's
I don't
difficult even for native speakers. Well, all right. So I'll let your tongue take a rest to rejuvenate, and we'll move on. Hide, are you still there?
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said the butter is bitter. If I put it in my butter, it will make butter bitter. But a bit of better butter, that would make my butter bitter. So she bought a bit of butter, better than bitter butter, and she put it in her butter, and the butter was not bitter. So it was better butter. Betty Butter bought a bit of better butter.
All right. Good. Now, obviously, you got tongue-tied a few times in the middle there. So we're gonna try this again, and this time the thing I want you to work on is don't let any words disappear. So sometimes when you're saying this, some of the words like in my or will or my, a lot of the my's and make kind of vanish as you hurry from the start of the sentence to the end. So I'm going to try saying it again, and this time make sure you really say every word. So whenever you're ready.
What is it? What's
Hide,
first?
are you there? Are you
Sorry,
muted?
I
Okay.
I am muted.
I figured it must have been an accident.
I'm a little tired.
That's all right. I know. I've been working your tongue out.
Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said the butter is bitter. If I put it in my butter, it will make my butter bitter. But a bit of better butter, that would make my butter bitter. So she bought a bit of butter, better than her bitter butter, and she put it in her butter, and the butter was not bitter. So it was better, Betty Butter bought a bit of better butter.
All right. Excellent. That was the best time I've heard yet from you. All right. So we're going to try and make sure I get everyone. So Igor, it's your turn. Second try.
Before we start, may I have a couple of questions?
I'm going to have you wait to ask those questions, all right?
Okay. So, if you don't have any classes after that, yeah, they're not really big. It will take a couple of minutes. So.
I'm willing to push the class a little long for anyone who wants to ask questions, but I want to make sure that we fit all the tongue twisting before that deadline.
Okay.
So I'll answer some questions. We can go a little long. I don't mind if you don't, but I want to make sure that we get to the actual class during class.
Okay.
So for now, to attempt the tongue twister, please.
Okay. Betty Butter. Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it'll make my batter bitter. But a better butter, that'll make my batter bitter. So she bought a bit of butter, better than her bitter batter, and she put it in her batter, and the batter was not bitter. So it was better Betty Butter. What a bitter Betty Butter.
Okay, so two things. One, make sure your butter is butter, because currently it sounds a little bit like batter. when you say it.
Yeah.
Let's make sure it's butter.
Butter.
And the other is on the words like bit and bitter. Make sure they're I, not E.
Okay.
So I want you to say it for me one more time and make absolutely sure, this is the most important thing for you right now, is make sure it's bitter and bit, not beater and beat.
Okay. Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it'll make my batter bitter. But a bitter, better butter. Let it make my batter better. So she bought a bitter butter, better than her bitter butter, and she put it in her batter, and the batter was not bitter. So it was better, Betty Butter, but a bitter, better butter.
All right, excellent. So now we're going to move on. Shadow?
Sure. Okay. Betty Butter bought some butter, but she said the butter's better. If I put it in my butter, it will make my butter better. But a bit of butter, that would make my butter better. So she bought a bit of butter, better than her better butter, and she put it in my and she put it in. It's very hard to pronunciate like as a D.
Did you put it? Yes. So remember that you get those D sounds. They transform back into T's.
Yeah. And she put it in her butter, and the butter was not better. So it was better, Betty Butter, but a bit of better butter.
Bada, bitta, better butter.
Better.
But a bit of butter, but a bit of better butter.
Very good. All right. So it's now been an hour. So anyone who needs to go, you're free to go. It's the end of class. I'm glad you showed up. I hope you had a good time. I hope you learned something.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
All right. Now, for those of you who wanted to ask any questions, I'll answer a few questions for you guys now.
Okay, so I just have a couple of questions. So
Okay.
Here in the first line, Watson. So do I actually need to pronounce this T at the end, like, or can I just swallow it like Watson?
It will probably get swallowed when you're going at a certain pace. Betty Butter bought some butter. It'll be some. And the T will actually probably fuse a bit, so it'll probably be a little bit of a long S. So Betty Butter bought some butter. However, you want to make sure this only really happens when you're kind of going at a pace. If you're going slower like this, then it would definitely still be Betty Butter bought some butter. But yeah, when you go faster, T's and S's, they will kind of boss them. And the reason things like this happen is because T and S are made in the same place in your mouth, but T is at the end of the word where your brain doesn't care as much, but the beginning of the word your brain cares a lot more. So that T fuses into that S because they're so similar. So Betty Butter bought some butter.
Yeah, and the reason why I add that because there is this phrase, and I noticed that you frequently swallow your teeth even in phrases like "good night." You don't actually say "good night," but "good night."
Oh yeah, and what's happening there is that the D is fusing with that N, which is why it's good night. The other is that what's actually happening to that T at the end, it's not that it's fully swallowed, but it's what's called unreleased, which you notice when you say a T or a D, how kind of your tongue hits there, and then you kind of build up air, and then you release it. Duh, tuh. And what happens is at the end of words, frequently in English, if you have a D or a T, or even a P or a B or a K or a G sound, they're unreleased. So I still make the sound, but I never have that release of air at the end. So instead of tuh, it's a. Does that make sense?
It sounds like some kind of a glottal stop, like you go for a T, but you're blocking the air with your with your throat. Good
Yeah,
night.
it is kind of
Good
similar,
night.
except yeah, good night. Except with good night, what's actually happening is I'm blocking with my tongue instead of my throat. Good night. So basically, the way to do it is you could mime making the T, but don't actually make it good night, and then make sure to actually make that move your tongue as if you're about to make a T, but then don't make it good night.
Okay.
Good
This
night.
makes sense.
Can I make a question, teacher?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. No. I would like to come back to the question of stress word at the beginning or at the ending of the word. When it's possible. So it seems to me that some words have a stress or at the beginning or at the end. But I'm not so sure when it's possible to pronounce in this way. Sometimes I can mistake in the pronouncing the word because the accent is different, from
yeah,
word to word.
so basically
The
what
stress,
it
the
is
stress.
like I said, the stress syllable is not predictable in English, which means that there's no one rule that tells you where it's going to be. You just have to learn it with every word. Now, there are some things. Thing one is that most commonly in English, stress comes at the beginning.
Yes.
However, especially in words we've borrowed from, say, Italian or French, where stress falls near to the end normally, in those words we'll frequently stress the end. So an interesting example is that the word which in American English is garage, here I'll write it for you.
Garage.
This word in French it's garage, and they stress the second syllable.
Garage.
Now, interestingly enough, in British English, they make it stressed as though it were a native English word. So they put the stress on the first syllable, and it becomes garage.
Garage.
Yeah. So in Britain they say garage. In America we say garage because we just do it the French way. But now there are also some times when you see compound words in English, words that are made up of multiple words. Like you'll see things like absent-minded, like this, or even understand.
Yes, understand.
Oftentimes, these words will have two stresses. They'll have a primary stress and a second stress. What that means and the primary stress is the most stress, and the secondary stress is stressed more than the rest of the word, but not as much as the full word. So, for instance, absent-minded, absent and mind both get stressed, but
the first part.
But mind is the most stressed, and absent is the second one. So absent is still stressed, but not as much as minded. So absent-minded is how that word sounds.
Absent-minded. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And other keys is that the root wants to take the stress more than other parts. So, for instance, in a word like this word is I think I've missed
How do you pronounce this?
Sorry, I misspelled it. There we go. Oops, no, that was right. So this word is inconceivable.
Where are the stresses? And
the stress is on this part, sieve. And the way you could guess that is because in, that's a prefix. It means not. And able, that's a suffix. It means you're able to.
Yes.
So we know that conceive is where the stress is going to be found. Now there you'd have to guess. Now if you know a bit about the history of this word, that can also help you because conceive itself is a word English borrowed from Latin. And in Latin, con is a prefix. So sieve is the actual real root of the word. So sieve takes the stress. Inconceivable.
Inconceivable.
Not inconceivable. Not inconceivable. And not inconceivable. But inconceivable. And as you can hear, the in actually does get secondary stress.
Yes.
Because it's at the start of the word and English wants the stress there, but it can't put it there for other reasons because the stress is already on sieve. So we get a secondary stress on in, so inconceivable.
So inconceivable is something you can't even imagine.
Yes, that is in fact exactly what it means. Something you cannot imagine.
Yes. So, do you want to say that the primary stress could be always less stress than the second one? No, can we generalize in this way? No, it's not possible.
Well, remember the primary stress is the more stressed one. So wherever you find the primary stress, that's the most stress. And incidentally, if you're ever looking up a here, I will pull something up for you guys really quick.
Okay, teacher. Thank you.
Okay, so if we go to this thing, the Wiktionary, whenever it gives you, can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see.
So whenever you see something written phonetically, it will normally show you where the stress is, and I'll show you how you can look at that. So you can kind of see, well, this one is only showing primary stress. This apostrophe that comes before the syllable.
Yeah.
That tells you primary stress. If you ever see that apostrophe, that means the syllable that follows is the primary one. So because it's here in front of lit, we know this word is literature, and not, for instance, literature or literature. It's literature.
Literature.
And let me see if they'll show it in absent-minded. They'll show secondary stress in this one. Oh, they don't even have a... Oh, okay, so yeah, here they do. I think, no? Is that it? Over there? Yes. So you can see down there at the start of this one, they have a little, it's an apostrophe, but it's at the bottom instead of the top. This downwards apostrophe is second stress. So the secondary stress is on ab. The primary stress is on mind. So we get absent-minded. So ab gets some stress, but not as much stress as mind. So that's how so some words do indeed have 2 points of stress.
Excuse me, can we recognize that the first is less stress than the second one? It's impossible, no, I think no. Yeah.
But yeah, so the first one is less, so it's absent, and an absent, ab is the stress one, but minded and absent-minded, so you can kind of hear how absent-minded, how mind is more absent-minded.
It actually sounds like two different words, like you go low pitch on absent and go high pitch on minded, like absent-minded, absent-minded.
That is part of it. And it gets, and I will warn you, things get very complicated when you start getting into the phonetics of this, into whether it's high tone or low tone, and how high is it, how low, does it waver, how does the pitch change? All that gets very, it's very interesting, but it's a little more scientific than I can really explain it
okay.
without doing my research.
So it's not said that you are going to give a high pitch in the second one, the second part of the
real thing to remember is that more stress is the most stress. The primary stress is the full stress. The secondary stress is not as stressed.
Okay.
So, for instance, nt and did are both completely unstressed. They're just nt, did. But then ab is stressed, but it's not as stressed as mind. So absent-minded.
Absent-minded.
And stress can do a lot of things. It can make the word a little louder. It can make the vowel a little longer. It can raise the pitch, or it can even lower the pitch. It's not 100% what's going to happen, but it is going to impact.
Yes. Can we say that in long words we have generally a big stress at the beginning, or not? Or it's possible always also in short words?
Normally, in longer words, you'll find a stress near to the beginning and one near to the end. But the important thing to remember is you always would have to guess really accurately. You would have to look at how the word is broken up into its smaller parts. So, for instance, the reason it's absent-minded and it's on ab and mind is because absent-minded is a compound word. It's made of two words, absent and
yeah,
minded. And so both those words take the traditional English stress on the first syllable.
Okay, I understand.
And then when you put them together, both those shrill syllables want to be stressed, but only one of them wins in the end. And in this case, minded wins, and the reason is because minded is, in a way, the core root, whereas absent is working as a prefix. Yeah, so like I said, it can be complicated. Knowledge of etymology can help, which actually, being Italian, you have a little bit of an advantage because all of our Latin roots should be a little more similar to you.
Yes, this is. That's why it's important to know about the Latin roots. Other things like this, not teacher.
Oh yeah, no. English has so many Latin roots. It's actually it's complicated sometimes trying to figure out how our language works, because you can be tricked into thinking that certain rules exist in the language that are actually Latin rules that we just borrowed in because we borrowed so many rules.
We can find these Latin roots also in Spanish, in German, and French also. I think in Italy, in Italian language.
Well, all right. So, do you guys have any more questions?
No, teacher, nothing. For me, not teacher.
No, I have one. It's really quick.
Okay, what is? I'm getting.
Because we've already taken a lot of your time.
It's all right. I'll answer one last question.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay, so I've been trying to reduce my accent for a long time, and I think I've noticed the main difference between a native speaker and the learner. Like when a learner says words like can, some, to, was, were, we tend to pronounce them the way they're supposed to be pronounced. But when native speakers do that, I think they don't even have vowels in that. Like it was there.
Yeah, it was there. It was. The real key with English often is the mastery of that schwa, that little vowel, that schwa vowel, because it's all over English.
This schwa vowel, I've been trying to realize to understand this vowel, but it always sounds different. I don't know. Why.
The problem with the schwa is it's such a neutral sound that it actually is heavily affected by the sounds around it. So the real way to think of the schwa is whenever you make a sound, like when you're trying to not say the letter P, but just make the sound p, that's a schwa. And when you go s, that's a schwa. And it sounds different because the schwa is so infected by the p or the s sound.
So that's why it's not does, but this. Does it go there?
So does it go where?
Does it go there?
Oh, does it? Yeah, it's a schwa in the it. Does it? Does it go there? Yeah, that it will become a schwa. Does it? Does it? Does it go there? And yeah, there's other rules which are good to know because as in any language, there's a lot of these subtle rules that you don't often learn because honestly they're complicated and they're super subtle. So until you reach a certain level, they're not useful to know. But there's things in English, like I was saying, that rule with the T's becoming D's, and then there's rules where S sounds or S and Z very much flip. Like for instance, in does and then does it. There's a reason it's does and not does.
Excuse me, teacher. There is a reason about the schwa sound, the origin of the schwa sound, or the need to pronounce, to have the schwa sound.
The reason the schwa is there is that English has a rule where unstressed vowels become schwas, or want to become schwas. Sometimes they can't for other sound reasons. But the real thing is to remember that every vowel that is not a stressed vowel in English is kind of trying to become a schwa. And if you look at actually here, maybe I'll pull it up for you guys really quick just because I do like talking about this stuff. you look at the, this is a little, I'm going to pull up this a map of vowels, how they're shown for the phonetic alphabet. Where are they? They're down here.
Does it come from a necessity in speaking? In
So,
order
so
to...
do you see this chart over here?
Yes.
So this is a chart of vowels. These are all the symbols that make vowel sounds in various languages. And the thing you do, and it's kind of shaped like this trapezoid, and the reason is because here on this side, these are the vowels said near the front of your mouth. These are the vowels said near the back of your mouth. And these are vowels said at the roof of your mouth, and vowels said at the base of your mouth. And it's shaped like this because it's mimicking the shape of your mouth. You know, it's harder, you can't get as far front in the bottom of your mouth as you can at the top, basically. Now, schwa, you'll notice, this is schwa. It's right here, smack dab in the middle. It's the middle vowel you can get. It's the truest neutral vowel. So you can see that when vowels weaken in English, like here's E, here's here's I. It's trying to become a schwa. Here's U, here's It's trying to become a schwa. What's happening when vowels weaken is they go back to this neutral state, this It's the most neutral, it's the smallest vowel, the most underpronounced vowel you can get. And English loves it. And so the real thing to remember is that it's just kind of the most neutral thing. So when you're trying to speak English, yeah, sometimes you just kind of have to let the vowel disappear and just become whatever it is when you go p, s, k, d, b. There's a little that's the schwa. And yeah, and you can see it here. It's right in the middle. It's in the middle of your mouth. It's made about halfway up your mouth and in the halfway between your lips and the back of your throat.
That actually answers my question quite great. That's why I just was wondering why this schwa sound is so different, but now I understand. Like if we go ta, you don't need to, but ta to go.
Yeah, to go. And yeah, and when you say this, and when you say this word, this to, it's just ta.
So I need to go, not I need to go. I need to go. I need to go.
I need to go, and it's oftentimes when you get, something of something, it becomes something. It becomes that of. Sometimes of the entire word will just become a schwa.
Yeah.
The bane of my existence.
Like kind of.
The mother of my children. Another way to think of schwas is that vowel, that sound. Sometimes sounds similar to schwa, people think. So you can kind of think of is like a strong schwa, and then a weak that's a schwa.
So that's why I think if you need to say can, like I can do that.
I can do that. An absolute example of the becoming a schwa because it's unstressed, so it becomes kun.
Yeah.
I can do that, and that's why in English you have like do not becomes don't becomes a don't. Is the reason is because in older forms of English and in modern English you get do nit don't it. In older English do was pronounced do, and not was when it unstressed would just be nit. So don't it do that.
So, excuse me, teacher. This comes from the necessity to tie the words, in tying words. I think, no, the necessity to have a more smooth pronunciation between two words.
Yeah, that is where it comes from, and it's an interesting thing in language that, because all languages change over time. And part of the reason why sounds change like they do is you can imagine there's an imaginary fight going on in your brain between two concepts. And one is the force that wants sound words to be easier to say, wants them to flow together.
Yeah.
And that's what makes all these schwas. Now the problem, of course, is that if all the words were super easy to say, language would just sound like that's all it would sound like. So there's another force, and it's the force that wants language to be really easy to hear. Because when you think about it, some sounds, like when they're very similar, that's hard to hear the difference. But it sounds that are really different, like p and those are really easy to hear the difference between. So language also pushes those. which is why sometimes you get these distinctions. It's why in English, why P's, T's, and K's are aspirated. They have that puff of air, but B's, D's, and G's don't. But p-t-k.
Actually, if we have time, I have just an example to describe this thing. It's like I've seen a program, a TV show. They invented a lot of really difficult words to say that sounded like, you know, some kind of alien language. And they had about 300 people, and the experiment there was like every one of them they had to pass these words to another person, like
every one of them had to tell the word to another person, who then had to tell the word to another person.
Yes.
Yeah.
And after that, the output was like a real word, like a word that is easy to say, easy to remember, you know.
Yeah, and that's exactly the thing, is that sometimes in language sounds get more distinct and sometimes they fuse together, and they're always doing this, which is why 100 years from now people who speak Italian and Russian and English will sound different from how we speak Italian and Russian and English, and why we all sound different from people who spoke Italian, Russian, and English 200 years ago. It's because the language, there's these two forces of sound change are always messing with the sounds. And we don't even realize it because it happens over large periods of time, but it totally happens.
Yes, because each language requests a structure of your throat tissue, of your muscles. It's very difficult, no, to achieve this. It's not only a question of pronouncing, but also to adapt your muscle, your throat. It's a kind of a different structure. Yes, teacher. Different structure.
And it's,
because
and
you
it's
are
always that your ears and your tongue are fighting.
Yeah, you are accustomed from your childhood in this way, but we are not in the same way, teacher.
Yeah, and that's the other interesting thing, is that even in the ways languages, this is how we know languages have all these rules, is that even in the ways we get lazy, and when we slur sounds, the way you slur sounds in Italian is not the same way you slur sounds in English, or the way you slur sounds in Russian. And it's actually quite interesting how things you think would be universal are not. Like, someone was saying that, in English when we're pausing we tend to say or
Yeah.
But that's not universal. Different parts of the word, you say different things when you're pausing for time, even though you think it's just a sound.
Yes, for example, teacher, I can recognize you, American, when you come in Italy from the T. No, it is very characteristic. It's not the same as inItaly. T. Your T is very, let's see, very. We don't have this T.
What it actually is that the Italian T is said more on your teeth, and the English T is said a little further back on the gums.
Yes, in order to say your T, we have to say chi, the chi. This way.
All your T's sound alien to me.
Sound what to you?
Alien.
Alien? Yeah.
Russian T's, they're pronounced with the middle of your tongue. You just cross your tongue and the T. Yeah, they're more. Russian is typically more palatal, is what it's called. The palate, the palate is the roof of your mouth, and you tend to, when you hit it there, it's the middle of your tongue. When we say words, our tongues usually stay neutral. They don't really go up. We don't really move our tip of the tongue to the roof of our mouth. They just stay low, and we just say words.
But yeah, so it's actually, and like I said, sometimes it can really be fun to look on. You can read these, and all these articles, by the way, on like Wikipedia about sounds are available in every language, because that's the way Wikipedia are. Sometimes it's really worth looking at them. Sometimes for your language or for English, because you can really learn some interesting things. Another fun thing you can do is you can click on the sounds, and then it will show you the presence of that sound in all kinds of language. So in fact, here you can find, here's a Russian example. This word.
What is it?
It would be это.
Yeah.
Sounds,
And so
sounds
that-
like schwa, yes? Это.
Yeah, and that little that's the e right there. That's that upside down schwa, that eta.
Doesn't sound like schwa.
Mhm.
Это. We just say это.
Yeah, but see, that's what it is, eta. When you're going fast, it becomes a schwa.
Mm.
So a lot of these sounds like will pop up in languages, even if they don't really have them as contrasting sounds, but as mutations of other sounds. So it's always kind of worth it to look up and just see, if you're having trouble with an English sound, be like, maybe it appears in my language just somewhere I didn't expect it to show up. Sometimes that happens, even with like Spanish or Japanese or Chinese, you'll find sounds popping up in your other languages, and you'll be like, oh, so it's just like when you say sh, but before a T. So, all right, so now I really do have to go, but
Thank you very much for the.
oh yeah, my pleasure. And if you ever see my
Okay.
class about phonetics,
Okay,
I'll
teacher.
be glad to talk more about this stuff there.
Okay,
So,
teacher.
all right, you guys have a good
Yeah.
time.
Okay,
Bye.
for me. Bye, teacher. Thank you. You are very kind. Thank you.
Thank you very much.